Hi, everybody. Today it is an absolute delight to invite somebody who I personally admire. Brigadier Sushil Bashin is basically a time strategist. He's a global speaker, author, he's a TEDx speaker, and more importantly, he's a soldier who's turned an educator. Okay, he's been training a lot of corporates, a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of entrepreneurs across the world, and he's on a mission to basically create a world which is conscious of time as a vital resource. So, Brigadier Bashin, it is such a pleasure to have you today on our podcast.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much. And I think I could tell the listeners that I admire you as much as probably you admire me, because we've been working together on some webinars and seminars, and we've seen each other. And one thing we certainly share, Bobby, between you and me is the passion and the dedication to sharing knowledge. So thank you very much for calling me here. I'm absolutely privileged and delighted.
Wonderful, wonderful. Brigadier Bashin has also written a wonderful book, and we will hear more about the book as well. But let's start with the title of the podcast. The podcast title is Time Management is Dead. Now, can you throw some light onto that? Why is time management dead? Don't you think a lot of time management strategies are needed during COVID-19 and coronavirus outbreak?
So why I say time management is dead? The statement is very strong. It does shake off people, but I say time management is dead. The digital disruption came and killed it.
Wow.
Bobby, if you remember, maybe say 20 years back, even 10 years back, if you wrote a letter and posted it in Mumbai, you would get a reply in, let's say, about 10 days time.
That's right.
So you had enough time for you to plan. Your to-do lists were in a generally stabilized environment, right? Today, the digital disruption has come that if somebody gets you a WhatsApp message, he wants you to answer in 5 minutes.
That's right.
And you are driven by your clients, by your friends, by your influencers in a way you don't know what's hitting you. It's like a video game, where you see something's coming, and if you don't shoot it on time, it's gone. Exactly that. I quite related to the first time I picked up a video game on Ninja, whatever it was, I remember. And you just shoot people, and things are coming, targets are moving, and if you don't shoot them, it's gone. So your score goes down. Yes. That is exactly what life is today. So why we say that there's no time management, now it is time investment. And I'll talk more about why I say that you need to invest your time. Time management, from the time of Alan Lakin coming out in 40 years back, he came out with the basic principles. He's the first person who talked of time management. And all his concepts, if you read them, and then followed up by whether it was Eisenhower's matrix of importance versus urgent, and to-do lists, and everything that you've been learning so far were based on only one thing: efficiency.
That's right.
Do something fast, save time, and use it somewhere else. Prioritization and efficiency were the only two factors.
Correct.
They did not cater for emotions. They did not cater for significance. And I picked up this idea from Rory Vaden. You must see his TED Talk. Rory Vaden says that he tells a story, and let me narrate the story here. He says, I went to my partner's house and I wanted to, we had to go for a very, very, very important client meeting. So he said, I'm waiting in the living room, looking at my watch, and seeing that we are just on time and there's no further time to be wasted. I see my partner coming down the staircase. And as he comes closer, from behind comes running his 10 years old daughter, clings to his legs and says, Daddy, where are you going? And he says, I'm going to work. No, Daddy, today no work. I want to be with you. And he says, that's the time I realized that this time actually being with his daughter is more important than that client right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we did not have emotions, we did not have significance built into our time management techniques. And they were only talking. I have not heard of people saying, and that's what I've said in my book, that you save time to increase your me time, to do something like gardening, playing golf, going for a swim, not to do more work, because today you are all, I mean, we are all getting stressed up because of too much of work. So if I save time to do more work, I'm actually inviting more stress in life. So I say save time
Mm-hmm.
to invest it into those things, your family time, going for a movie, going for a dance, going to see a drama. Those are the things I can't find time for. Find time for them, but don't find time to do more work. That's a spiral. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. So I'm just that's a interesting thought. And you and I have been delivering so many keynotes, workshops, talking about the 4 quadrants and the Stephen Covey 7 habits of highly effective people, and we teach time management. But what is interesting that you mentioned is most people want to work around their time management so that they're able to do more work. But what you're also saying is, what if you can focus on things that are really, really important for you? For example, what excites you? For example, it could be hobbies, it could be passion, it could be spending that few minutes with your little kid, who really wants that time with you. So that is interesting. Now,
Bobby, let me interject here and say
sure.
that today I am 69, and if somebody
Wow.
asked me, do you have a regret in life? And my number one regret is I did not spend time with my children. I really, really regret that. I was posted in Delhi. My daughter was about 8 or 9 that time. And from Delhi, I got posted to a field area. And from the field area, we were in Punch, and you would hardly talk. And you had that phone that you had to, do that
Yes.
handle rotated, and then you got through a call with difficulty. So once in a while, in a week or so, we used to manage to get a call through to Delhi. So I was talking to my wife and asking how the kids and all are. So she told me, she says, shall I tell you something interesting? She named some friends. So they had come over yesterday, and they were having a chat with my daughter, and my daughter's pet name is Kittens. So they asked Kittens, are you missing Papa? And she said, no. So I got a little shocked. I said, why did she say that? She says the answer was like that friend of mine said, why do you miss Papa? He says he was never there for us. He used to come home only for 3 things: either to talk on the phone, or to have food, or to go to sleep. That are the only 3 things he did. And it shook me. It shook me that am I not even spending that time that my children want to be with me?
Wow.
I realized that I was posted in Delhi, and any guests who used to come to us, I used to give them my staff car. My wife would take them to Appu Ghar and all. I had never been to Appu Ghar, to a park, to anything with my children. They had seen all that, but without their father. And I thought, none of you who are listening to this should ever make that mistake, because you will regret when time doesn't come back. No matter what I do, I can't see my child 2 years young now. I don't say old, 2 years young. And today I have a grandson who's 15 months young. And I really love to spend time with him. And I spend as much of time. I forget about my client meetings. I forget about my workshops. I want to be with him. So I have a lot of GST these days. And that is called grandson time.
Wow.
I tell people, this is my GST. Don't disturb me.
Yes.
And that takes priority. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm really moved by hearing that part of you, because, I could see that you got emotional about it. And I think I got emotional as well, because what I understand is, time flies by. And I have a nephew and niece, and I regret that there are times that I should have spent with them. And that time I was in the north of India. And they have now grown. I spend a lot of time with them, and I'm consistently posting on Facebook, social media. But there is this deep regret in my heart that only when they were 13, 14, and that's a time when they had to make decisions. If I was there that time, I think it would have been helpful. Though they love me, I'm glad that I hope that they've forgiven me that I couldn't give them time. But I think what I'm learning from you right now is time management is just not about doing a lot of different work, about prioritizing time for something that is really, really important for you, so that when you're 69 or when you're 50 or you're 60, you don't regret it. But I really
So that's what I say, that what I couldn't do, I want you to be very, very conscious of that.
Wonderful.
And see, who doesn't know? Who doesn't know that time doesn't come back? Time is not compressible. It's not expandable. It can't be slowed down. It can't be hastened. I think everyone knows it. There's no, but nobody realizes it. See, uh, I love money. So I put it in my wallet. I don't leave it around. I put it in my bank and want to get interest out of it. I have jewelry. I put it in a locker. I'm so possessive about it.
That's true.
But I easily let time go. Easily. I know I'm wasting it. I know I'm gossiping. I know I'm making a long telephone call. I'm aware of it. And I don't realize that this is not going to come back. My money will come back. My jewelry can come back. This is not going to come back. And still, we regret it. And when I say I want to make it a time-conscious society, I want everyone to understand the value of time. Wow. The value, importance, and relevance. Three things. Value, importance, and relevance of time. So understand this is a resource like nothing else. I had a very nice interview with a gentleman called Michael Podolinsky, who is Asia's #1 productivity guru.
Wow.
And I was having we had gone on a PSCI boot camp to Goa. And I told him, I said, can I have some time with you? So he says, for what? And I told him, I want to discuss, you're talking of productivity, I'm talking of time investment, and there's a lot of common thing. So can we have a little discussion around it? And I want to put it on my YouTube. So he agreed. And we did a video, and it is there on my channel. And it's one of the very good videos which you must watch, because it's got some lessons which are very unique. So Michael Podolinsky, when I told him, what do you think about time when it comes to productivity? He said, I'll give you a simple definition, very simple definition. Time is life.
Wow.
And time is equal to life. He says, when I give 5 minutes of my time to you, I've given 5 minutes of my life to you. And I should be very conscious of whom am I giving it to. Am I giving it to a person who doesn't deserve it?
Wow.
Am I giving it to a person who will value it? And I should be equally conscious that when you give me your time, so all you viewers who are watching this now, you are investing your time, and I'm thankful to you because you are giving me that part of your life. Thank you. And that's the best gift, a gift of time. And when you read my book, $1 Million Seconds, is a complete chapter of a gift that I gave to my Jawans, a gift of time. I realized that as an army officer, I can't give them more money because increments is not within my powers. Leave, they authorize 60 days annual leave. I can't give them 61 days. I can't give them a promotion. There's a system. And you have to follow the system. So I can't be very happy with somebody and say, oh, tomorrow I'll promote you. No, I can't. What can I give them? I said, let me give them time.
Wow.
And we used to have an office functioning 7 days a week. And I said, I'm going to give these people a gift of time. So I said, Sunday office band. People said, not possible. I said, we'll make it possible. I'll give you 1 month to adjust to this. So we worked out some techniques. We worked out some methods. And we said, Sunday office will not open. It took me 1 month to do it. And it took me another 1 month. In 2 months' time, my office was open only up to 1 o'clock on Saturday and then come on Monday. Wow. There were exceptions. There were exceptions when there's something had to happen on Monday, but that was exceptional. Somebody, for office to open, my personal permission had to be taken. This is when you start. So why I wrote this book was because of this. Because I realized that time is so important and we are missing out the essence of it.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is so true. And I think it's remarkable to make some changes in the schedule in the army, which is next to impossible, but you were able to do it because you were able to work around time. Now, a quick question that I had was, Today, when COVID-19 has hit us like a storm, coronavirus, this whole word feels like a virus in the mind, specifically when things have happened. Businesses have been hit, entrepreneurs have been hit. Companies are now deciding to not really have offices so much. A lot of organizations, small firms are even saying that why do we need to even have an office? A lot of people are losing job. I have had calls with people who said they are losing jobs. My question is, how do you think people, can manage their time effectively during this time of coronavirus? How can they maximize it as entrepreneurs and as an employees? What do you think?
Very good. So before I come to your question proper, let me put this perspective of the pandemic that has created a situation for us which never ever happened before.
Correct.
Even if there have been other pandemics, there was a vaccine. We don't see a vaccine in the many months. It is not somewhere in the horizon.
Correct.
And therefore, this is a unique situation in the world when worldwide travel has stopped, worldwide lockdown has happened, which has never happened before. What is the percentage of people who have actually been affected? I'm not even saying dead, affected by the virus. How many? The statistics are less than 1%.
That's right.
Less than 1% of the world population has been affected by coronavirus. But how many people have been affected by the stress of it, by the fear of it?
Everybody.
Almost 99%, almost. Right? So now the matter is, I have three choices. Do I become pessimistic and say, now I'm gone, nothing can happen, economy is going to go down, business is going to get affected, what do I do, God? That is one way of. The second way is embrace the change and say it's happened, and many times things have happened like that. Can we relook and say, how can I convert this crisis into an opportunity? And I have done it already. In the 1 month, I've already created a lot of opportunities for myself and created a lot of opportunities for my clients, for my mentees, whatever. Okay. So this morning I was on a motivational talk to a company, and suddenly, because my ideas and my stories they pop into my head from where I don't know. And suddenly I had not even prepared, not even thought of it. When I said, you all heard of the story of Bhuj? I was posted there, I've spent 2 years, beautiful township, clean, neat, nice people, everything good about it. Beautiful buildings, not skyscrapers, but nice looking 4-storied, 6-storied buildings. I think the tallest building, if I remember, was not even 10 stories. And then one day, an earthquake came and the complete Bhuj was gone.
That's right.
Please go and see Bhuj today. It is much, much better than the Bhuj I saw earlier.
Wow.
What happened? Crisis happened. People are gone, businesses are gone, money is gone, everyone lost hopes, a lot of people died, a lot of destruction. But what emerged is Bhuj better than before. I am very, very sure, and I'm telling you, it is my gut feeling, because I'm not an astrologer. I don't have any data more than you have, but I am telling you that the post-corona world is going to be better than the pre-corona world.
Wow.
The human behaviors are going to change. We are going to be more empathetic. We are going to respect nature more than ever before. I think we'll be more human than before. We will have time for nature. We will have time for the environment. Businesses will change. The way people look at each other will change. The world, we are going to be talking to our children and saying, in the year so and so BC, and that BC will not be before Christ. It will be before Corona.
Oh wow. Before Corona.
It'll be before Corona and after Corona. You're going to be saying, yeah, this used to happen in pre-Corona days. So my point is, are you getting prepared for the future? So this is the time, Corona is the time, or this lockdown is the time to prepare for the future. Now, when you said, how do you manage time? There are two categories of people I've seen. One people are like this. Now we can't do anything. When things become okay, when the lockdown opens, we'll see the situation and work accordingly. We'll cross the bridge when we reach it. We'll cross the river when we reach the bridge.
Mm.
Thank you very much. God bless you. I'm saying, are you making your plans to cross the bridge right now?
Mm.
For me, it has been a race against time. So when you say coronavirus, for all of us, it's a race against time. See, we are talking about the flattening of the curve. What is flattening of the curve? It's a race against time. That you don't want the cases to rise and that spike. Okay. So first time in the history of the world that I can visualize in my lifetime, has a whole world become conscious of time for the first time.
Yes, they
Like
have.
this.
Yes, they have.
Okay, so it's a race against time for each one of us. And so is it a race of, so every corporate I am dealing with, and now, Bobby, I'm telling you, I'm doing webinars after webinars. I've just done a jewelry company 3 days back, a series of 3 sessions, and I've learned so much from their pulse. What are they feeling? What is the market like? And I'm telling you, everyone is saying how to recover my money fastest. So it's a race against time. How soon will I stand up on my feet? Race against time. Now, if you're entrepreneurs, you're leaders in any field, you are looking at how will you stabilize. So will the same product work? Maybe it will, maybe it will not. Will it need modification? The product will be there. Like in speaking, the product will be there, but it will need modification. Will the same package work, or will I have to package it differently? The human behavior will change. We are all now more comfortable online. So if your online presence is not there, even if you are delivering, your product may not be online, but your attention catching will be online. People who never knew Zoom now know Zoom. People didn't know WhatsApp, now know WhatsApp. Okay. So therefore, if you're not present online, and this is the time to be present, this is the time to learn, this is the time to brush up, this is the time to do your branding exercises, this is the time to re-look at your company culture. You never had time for it. God said, here is the time. He's given you a gift. If you couldn't review your company organization culture, then this is the time to do it. This is the time to think. I'll give you another very, very good idea. Actually, you could be anyone in the world. I'm telling you, it's applicable to you. Whichever field you are in, even if you're a housewife, make a mastermind group of 5 people. 5 housewives. How are you going to manage your home better than this now? If you have 5 entrepreneurs, get to 5 entrepreneurs, maybe different industries, and say, we are facing a problem with paying salaries. How are you managing it? And if 5 people share ideas, you will get ideas like never before.
That's right.
And get into a small group, 5 people on Zoom, on WhatsApp, on whatever, on Meetup, on Google Hangouts, whatever is comfortable. Okay. And get to each other and understand what can we do better. What can we do better? How can we be prepared? So this is the time, and now we are talking of 3rd May. It may get extended. It may get extended in a graduated way. We don't know. We are just not sure. But one thing is there. This culture is going to continue for some time. Even if the lockdown opens, even when everything is normal, that may take even up to end of June when things absolutely become normal. But the business will not be normal. The business will still be hit. Layoffs will be there. Salary cuts will be there. How do we handle all that? So it's a race against time. So what you were saying is, you can't be wasting even a second today.
That's right.
You can't be wasting a second. And this is what my title says, $1 million second.
So thank you for those insights, Brigadier Sushil Bhasin. It's a pleasure speaking with you. I was very intrigued. I saw the title of your book and it's called The $1 Million Second. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, so, this is a true story. I was in Shimla in Artrak when the Kargil war was going on. And soon after that, one captain who had actually taken part in the war, he was sitting with me and he told me a story. And the story was like, I had goosebumps when he told me that story.
Yeah.
So what happens in the army is that when you capture an objective, there's a lot of bombardment, heavy artillery fire, air power. You want to pin down the enemy, and the whole intention is that the enemy should not be able to have aimed fire at you. Okay. Now, as you are going along, the infantry, the foot soldiers, they are walking towards the objective. We want to keep their head down. So you have all this firing going on. Now there's a stage where the artillery fire, that radius, you get into that radius. The moment you do that, you will come under your own artillery fire, which is dangerous. Okay. So in the army, we can't make mistakes. So the fire has to stop. It has to stop before our infantry gets into that range.
That's right.
If the entire artillery fire, which is happening from different gun areas, if that coordination is not perfect, and perfect is perfect, 100%, not 99, then you could be having our own people being killed. So if that fire is lifted earlier, then you will be facing the aimed enemy fire for longer. And if it is late, then you are going to be falling into that range. So it has to be lifted at that time, and that is the importance of that 1 second, that was it lifted at a particular time or not. But further, what happened now, he says, sir, when we went into Kargil, climbing up the hill, and you reach the target, the objective we call it, and it was obviously most of these wars and battles are fought at night. So just to make sure that the visibility is not there, the aimed enemy fire is not there. So when we go on to the objective, there is something called a mopping up operation. We call it reorg. So reorganization. You have to make sure that no live enemy is left on the objective. Somebody could be lying who's injured but not dead. Somebody could be alive and you need to kill him or capture him, and things like that. So he says, I was having my Stain gun pointing out like this into the dark and looking for, is there anyone around? And he says, suddenly from nowhere, I don't know what happened, a tall burly Pakistani officer stands right in front of me. And he says, oh my God, I was taken by surprise. Looking for somebody lying on the ground or something, but not such a hefty guy right in front of you. And he had a Sten gun pointing towards me and I had mine towards him. Now he says, a thought came to my mind that the only person who survive out of two of us will be the one who presses his trigger first. He says there was no time to think, there was no time to take advice, guidance. I pressed my trigger and he fell. He says, sir, I told you this in about a couple of seconds, but I didn't have all that time to think. It is a split second story that I'm telling you. He says, when he fell down on my feet, he cried, Mom! And he says, I said to myself, what if he had pressed his trigger half a second earlier? Then I would have been lying there and I would have been crying, Ma, just like like he's doing. And my mother would be crying as his mother will cry now.
That's right.
He says, sir, that 1 millionth of a second was important that time. And that is the day I decided I will write a book called $1 Million Second.
Wow. That's an amazing story. Wow. And that basically shows us the value of time. And as you were saying earlier that, people do not value the time until it's gone by. Even at the start when we were recording. Yeah. Wonderful. So just before we end, I had one question for you. People who are watching right now during coronavirus, you mentioned earlier that people may tend to just say that, let me wait for the bridge to come and then I will climb it. What are your suggestions for entrepreneurs and employees, who are worried whether their salary may get cut or, they may lose a job, and that's very well happening. What is your suggestion for people? What are 1 or 2 steps you like to suggest how people can manage their time and make it the $1 million second?
Okay, so I've done some webinars on this called the Manage Your Home Office, in which I've talked on this. So that's about 20 minutes, but I'll just give you a gist of it. One is put your antennas up and be alert, see what's happening in your particular industry and in your particular life.
Wow.
Review your goals. Now, if you had made your goals in the month of January or in the last financial year, if you did, to whatever extent, some people do them well, some people don't. But you need to have fresh goals. If you had made them, review them, and if you had not made them, make them now. So this morning I finalized my goals, reviewed them with my team for 30th June. And today, by the end of the day, I'm going to be issuing to my team my fresh goals by timelines. That is point one. Point two is, at the moment, all our offices have become from a 9 a.m. to a 5 p.m. office. It has become a 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. office.
That's right. It is.
You have normally 8 hours of sleep, let's say, on an average. If that is so, you have got 16 hours a day and 112 hours a week. You've got to have your 112 hours of your planned work. And how it is done, again, is a process which is long, but I have suggested something called scheduling system on an Excel sheet. And because I'm not able to explain in details and we don't have the time, and you must have seen I was talking very fast. Why? Because in half an hour I want to convey best of what I could, and that is why I was rushing up. I will make all our viewers, I'll give you the link. I've got that little Excel sheet, and the way to use it, I will send them this gift, and you can go through that Excel sheet and you will get to understand. But what it means is planning of your 112 hours a week and reviewing it at the end of the week and making a fresh one for the next week. Okay, this is what you will have to do, so that this home office has a shared physical space, mental space, emotional space with the rest of the family. Never before have you worked at home like this, because earlier, even people who were working from home, the wife could have been at work, the child was in school, the maid was coming. Environment is totally different.
That's right.
Today, I always tell people that we are a made for each other couple, and the maid is MAID. So we are made for each other. I do jhadu pocha also in the morning. I go and bring the milk. I was never doing all those things before. So in those 16 hours, you have to plan common family time. Like one friend of mine came out with the idea that we are a big family. So we have two times, once 11 to 1 in the morning, and once it is 6 to 8, we call it no noise hours. These 4 hours are no noise hours, no TV, no music, nothing. Everyone has to be quiet. So you could be reading, you could be on Facebook, but you're not to be no noise, so that all of us can concentrate on our work. So you'll have to have common ground rules. You will have to have a time planning system, whatever it is, so that these 112 hours a week, you get the best out of it, so that when you bounce forward, I just told you about the Bhuj case. Crisis has shown that whether it was World War, whether it was 9/11, whether it was 26/11, whether it was 2008 recession, whenever the crisis was over, the end of the crisis, you were better off than before. So after Corona, you're not going to be here. You're going to be here. And you're going to be here. You have to be prepared for this. So be prepared to bounce forward to that next level and not bounce back to the level where you left.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think that's a great way to end. In fact, right now, whatever crisis we're going through, it's only going to lead us to something higher. And if you can get your mindset to be higher, you can manage your time better, then of course you're going to grow, right? So Brigadier Basheen, it was such a pleasure having you. What we will do is we'll put in the links of your work below. So if anybody wants to reach Brigadier Basheen, if you want to buy the book, where do we connect with you? If people want to reach out to you, or they want to, let's say, pick up a copy of your book, how do they do that?
Okay, so I'll give you the links. It is all on Amazon. So $1 Million Second, there's another book called Design Your Life, which is now free right now. Okay, so you can grab a copy of Design Your Life free for the next 10 days. I also have a podcast called Zindagi Unplugged, which is free again. So one could look at that. But $1 Million Second is available on Kindle at a reduced price. I'll give you the link. Also, if you want to get in touch with me for any other time investment related things, just follow me on my website, which is brigsushilbhasin.com. And if you say /follow, then all my links are there. So whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, I'm on everything other than Snapchat and TikTok.
And hopefully you would also be on TikTok one day. Sir, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. Look forward to sharing this with the world so that they can be inspired by your story. But you're a wonderful person, and it's glad knowing you. All right.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for listening in, and thank you, Bobby, for getting me here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir.